Well, hello again, and today we're going to talk about the Black Sabbath album Tear. This is one of the most hotly debated of the Black Sabbath albums, as it's not exactly heavy in comparison to most of the other work. Even compared to Headless Cross, it is a much more hard rock, modern riff feel for the time, and that don't let that fool you. I actually think that this is an amazing record. It has many aspects that, once again, like Eternal Idol, Headless Cross, that were only explored on the record itself. Let's get the elephant out of the room. The Viking theme of the lyrics is... it's way ahead of its time because nobody was really doing this depth of like Viking themed things. And Tony Martin, sometimes he hits it and sometimes he misses. The Lawmaker has some fun lyrics. But some of it, singing about Valhalla is always a risky thing. You hit Manowar territory. And if you're a Manowar fan, cool. But this is not quite Manowar. But let's get to the good part now. Now that we've gotten the awkward Viking lyrics. Oh, by the way, and the Viking theme, the album art is some of the best Sabbath ever had. That beautiful Norwegian photograph framed by the dragons. It's good looking stuff. You'd think they'd go the cheese route, but they didn't. It's actually quite elegant. So moving on to the most important part, which is the music. This album has some I think very unintended bangers. I don't see that Sabbath really went out to write material in any particular vibe on this. Once again, there was a lineup change. So you had Neil Murray in for Lawrence Cottle, who only played bass in the record and the video. But in the chaos, you can kind of tell that they approached this record with no defined idea of what it would sound like. At least this is my opinion on how it sounds. But how it works is that the good songs are absolutely amazing. It opens with a number called Anno Mundi, which is, I think, I wish they still played it. I wish Tony Martin and Tony Iommi would get together, form a band called Headless Cross, and bring some of these back, because Anno Mundi is a monster song. It's one of those songs that the opening chant, the beautiful guitar leading into the riffs, it's not heavy per se, but the atmosphere is. The atmosphere, the lyrics, the mood, and the way Tony Martin hits the chorus parts, it's a great song. After that, it's followed up by The Lawmaker, which is a great little riff banger. Once again, not heavy, but very stirring and exciting. The lyrics about the Viking god keep it a little... they keep it vague enough that it doesn't get bogged down in it. And yeah, that's another good one. The Sabbath Stones and Jerusalem are another two amazing songs. Jerusalem, once again, doesn't sound like what you think Sabbath would, but I think fits in comfortably with any of the albums. It's got a great stomp. It's apparently a Tony Martin song going way back, even before Sabbath, and that he recorded on his own again. I could be wrong about this, but this song really works. Iommi plays up on it, and I love it. The Sabbath Stones' giant monster song. That song is just... the riff comes in slowly. The drum swells. How Tony Martin sings the vocals. The Sabbath Stone seems to be about the Ten Commandments, but you could put it here and there, wherever you want. The ending is once again in the style of Black Sabbath. It's a big apocalyptic burner, and it's the one song on the album that I think is just totally screams Black Sabbath. Love it. This is where the album gets a little wonky, though. Going into the later half, you have a ballad called Feels Good to Me. It's crap. Can't stand it. Very standard Hollywood metal ballad. Tony sings his heart out, but he can't save what is essentially a radio rock song that nobody should have written. And in the Sabbath milieu, it just sounds... it sounds ridiculous. They also made a music video for it, which is even more ridiculous, with some guy getting his coat thrown at him or something, or the other way around, I try to forget about it. It's bad. Other songs, Odin's Court into Valhalla. The riffs are good and everything, but the lyrics and the vocals just... Tony can sing. He can sing anything, but the whole cheese factor really brings down what was a great first half of the album for me. There's a few other songs, one called Heaven in Black. It's a cool lyric, but it doesn't stick. So my final verdict on this album is that the production is good, though the guitars don't sound very heavy at all. It's a very almost deep purplish tone to the whole thing. The guitars are great. The vocal performance is great, but it's really one of those records where it starts off really strong. Side 1 really kicks it, and meandering into side 2, you get a lot of weird ideas that I think scream of record company interference and just, running into weird room with the Viking theme, because the Viking theme wasn't consistent on the record, which makes it even stranger to have 2 to 3 songs trying to tie it together, and then a ballad, and then something about having your eyes pulled out in Russia. It's that would be Heaven in Black. As a Sabbath diehard, I still listen to it. The artwork is beautiful. The good songs are amazing, but it's one of those records where, unlike something like The Eternal Idol and Headless Cross, you start to get into that realm where there's weaker material. And weaker material for Sabbath is still better than anybody else, but it's kind of hard to swallow when you've heard the best, even of the Martin era. But that being said, I put it right up there, right below, like, Never Say Die and Born Again. I mean, it's a good record. When it's good, when it's good, it's great, and when it's bad, there's some cringe, but that is about 1/3 of the record. The other 2/3 are just awesome. So, yeah, I would say check out the first half of Tear, listen to the second half with an open mind, and make up your own view on this. It's something I suggest, but it has an asterisk on it. It's got a little censure, a little mark to say, some mistakes were made on this. But overall, Anno Mundi, the Sabbath Stones, Jerusalem, The Lawmaker, there's a lot of good to be found here, and I would focus on listening to those first if you want to get into it. Once again, it will be posted in the description so you can listen to the record for yourself, and until next time, thanks for listening. This was Aerik Vaughn. Good night.